Perfect. All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Saman Mahmood, and I'm the Director of Advocacy and Engagement here at New York City Bird Alliance. Thank you for joining us for our final installation of our winter lecture series, which has been graciously supported over the years by our supporters, Claude and Lucine Block. Before we start, there's a few housekeeping notes. This lecture is being recorded and will be posted later this week on our website for anybody to view. We've also enabled closed captioning for the Zoom and in the recording. Please use the Zoom's Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen for any questions you may have throughout tonight's lecture. At the end, I'll do my best to ask our speaker as many as questions possible. Feel free to use the Zoom chat function for general comments, including where you're joining us from tonight. For those of you who are new to New York City Bird Alliance, let me tell you a little bit about us. New York City Bird Alliance protects birds and habitat across New York City while strengthening urban biodiversity through science, policy advocacy, and community engagement. We have science research projects, including bird surveys, monitoring efforts on rooftops, green spaces, water edges, which are vital for habitats for birds in New York City. We work with community science volunteers to help us collect data on bird population and conservation threats. This data then informs our advocacy efforts from making the city safer by reducing bird collisions and rallying New Yorkers to join us in our efforts. We work to foster appreciation for birds and nature while inspiring action by engaging New Yorkers through one of the hundreds of birds outing classes and festivals we hold every year, including tonight's lecture. You can learn more about us by visiting the link in the chat. Now, on tonight's programming, our winter lecture series runs from December to March this year, where we host birders, authors, and conservation scientists who discuss their work to inspire and mobilize people to protect birds. And tonight, I'm super excited to be joined by Jenny Bogo, Vice President of Content at National Audubon. Jenny leads the editorial and arts teams at the Distinguished Audubon for its outstanding journalism on birds and conservation. She serves as editor-in-chief of Audubon Magazine, which has won multiple national magazine awards, including the Personal Service for the Magazine Innovation and Inspiring Climate Action Guide in 2020, and the General Excellence and Special Interest Honor in 2021. She also leads the development and growth of editorial brand extensions that introduce diverse new audiences to Audubon's work, conservation priorities, including Audubon Photography Awards, Audubon for Kids, and the Audubon Mural Project, one of which she's here to speak with us tonight. Before joining Audubon, Jenny was a science editor at Popular Mechanics and executive editor at Popular Science, where stories she edited were recognized in the Best American Science Writing and the Best American Science and Nature Writing. She has reported from research stations from Antarctica to the Arctic, including serving on the board of the Society of Environmental Journalists. Thank you for joining us tonight, Jenny, and we're really excited to welcome our partners from National Audubon Society as we close out our lecture series.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be your closer. This is very exciting. So I am here to give you a whirlwind tour of the Audubon Mural Project. So I will, without further ado, jump right into it, hopefully without any technological hiccups. Let's give it a go. All right, can you all see that? That should be a giant mural with an applumado falcon on it. Okay. This mural is actually in the Dumbo neighborhood of Brooklyn. So I thought this would be a nice, vivid place to start. As I mentioned, I'm going to give you a whirlwind tour of the Audubon Mural Project, which is Audubon's flagship public arts initiative. And I'll talk a little bit about how it's evolved from its origins in New York City 10 years ago and how it's really how it's really taken flight and poised to continue to grow. So the Audubon Mural Project originated in Manhattan with a single mural in 2014. Audubon had just launched its first Birds and Climate Change report, which found that 314 species of birds would be vulnerable to extinction from climate change by the year 2080. That's due to the temperature changing, the range, changing the habitat and the range that birds need to survive. And my predecessor at Audubon walked by a mural in Harlem that an artist had just painted and thought, why paint just one bird mural when you can paint 314? So that turned out to be a very ambitious goal, as we soon found out, but we launched right into it. So began an incredibly ambitious effort to paint every bird that's been identified by Audubon scientists as vulnerable to extinction from climate change. We started in the neighborhoods of Harlem and Washington Heights, and today walking around those neighborhoods can feel something like going on a scavenger hunt. Murals are tucked into small, unexpected spaces, and they're also soaring across the sides of buildings. One of my favorite juxtapositions is actually this mural here in the center, which is a gyrfalcon, and I love that it's extended onto an ice box because that's such an apt nod to the bird's icy habitat. Only a handful of these birds ever come south of Canada in the winter. And they're also great indicators of climate change because as polar regions warm faster than the rest of the planet, gyrfalcons face major challenges in their habitat that will squeeze them even farther north and make their prey harder to find. So it's very emblematic of the kind of awareness we're trying to build with this project. So we commission artists from a wide range of backgrounds to paint birds through the lens of their own styles and their own life experience. That's everything from graffiti artists to fine artists. And the diversity of murals is really what makes the Audubon Mural Project special. This is another great juxtaposition. It's a Canada goose wearing Timberlands on the security gate of a shoe store. And the artist included a target, you'll notice on the bird, in addition to the two fly, as sort of his own personal statement, like another environmental value statement, and in this case about Canada, about down feathers and the use of down feathers. So over a decade, the mural project has been going for 11 plus years now, and it has so far painted 142 walls and 210 species in New York City. And in the process, it's celebrating nature, uplifting people, and raising awareness on climate change. So the Audubon Mural Project's core to its mission are several aspects of Audubon's strategic plan, which is called Flight Plan. And foremost, really, is the imperative of addressing climate change. Our goal is to literally stop people in the streets and catch their attention. We want them to pause and to consider what's at stake for birds and for people as the climate is changing, and also our role in creating a better future for all of us. Since the project first started, the number of climate-threatened birds has actually gone up. It's important to note, Audubon released another climate report in 2019, and the latest climate models now show 389 species of birds that reside in or migrate through North America may now be existentially threatened. But we don't want to just depress people with the science. We want to give them hope. And that's also core to this project. We want to show how resilient birds can be in the face of challenges, especially if we give them a helping hand. So this mural, for example, George Barugi is the artist, and he said he wanted to depict this group of warblers as a bunch of tough guys because they are tough guys, he said. These birds make massive migrations, enormously long journeys, some almost inconceivable for creatures so small. And it's often, George points out, this spring migration of murals that gets people interested and then hooked on birding, especially here on the East Coast. And that curiosity about birds and the wonder that birds spark is really the first step in understanding what birds need and becoming invested in preserving their habitat. So we also integrate the values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging as a core value in the project. We make it a priority to hire artists who live and work in the places where we're making murals, and that's resulted in some art that's really a wonderful expression of the community. This is a great example. This is an artist named Jessica Mafia, who has a studio in Washington Heights, I believe, and she actually made our first mural that doesn't actually have a bird in it. She made a spectrograph of the American robin's song from glass that she collected from a local park. She upcycled the glass and then she cast the hands of community members who are actively working in environmental issues. And in this mural behind Jessica, you can see they're cupping the robin's nest. So her mural is actually a meditation on the bird's absence. And I just wanted to make a point too that murals have a great capacity for community building. This mural, this Elizabeth Loris Ritter is a community board member in the neighborhoods where many of our murals are. And as she pointed out, they really connect people to nature and to each other. And this particular mural is a gorgeous mosaic. If you're ever up on 163rd and Broadway, I encourage you to go see it. It was installed during the pandemic, and that was a particularly dark time for a lot of people, and especially like this neighborhood was especially hit hard by that public health crisis. And as this mural was being installed, neighbors passing by actually helped glue the tiles in place to the mural. So they don't just live with this mural, they actually helped create it. And that was a really uplifting experience and sort of like a lasting, joyful thing that came out of that time. So since then, the murals have actually started to spread out of Harlem and Washington Heights across New York City. This is our first mural in Brooklyn. It's in Williamsburg. It's also the first mural that really features the relationship, features birds and mushrooms, and really highlights how both of those things are really key to, they're kind of invisible forces and key to maintaining healthy ecosystems. And this was painted by the French artist Mantra, who was actually visiting New York City at the time. And I watched him paint this. It was actually amazing. He was on a scaffolding with like an 8x10 piece of paper, just like freehand painting this mural. It was incredible. And this is our first mural in the Bronx. It was painted by youth artists. This photo actually doesn't give you a good sense of its length. It is a very, very long mural. I don't want to misstate its length, but it is probably the size of like half a block or something. So murals can also transport you elsewhere. We decided, why stay in New York City? You can actually be like, stop gazing upon a mural and sort of really transported to other places. And so I'm going to show you just a real short video that kind of hits upon that point and also illustrates the conservation and community values that we really try to express with this project.
This depiction of the boreal forest is broken into 4 habitats: scrub shrub, wetlands, waterways, and then forests. I put these pieces on one by one, often after cutting them, tiles, some marble in it, some glass beads, along with some clay that I cast on tree barks. I really like the complexity of nature, and the more I learn about it, I'm floored by the power also. This mural is called Bird Watching in the Boreal Forest. Most of the boreals are wetlands. They hold at least a quarter of the fresh water in the world. It's called the Nursery of the North because 3 billion birds breed and nest there. They're threatened by climate change, different habitat, water. So I want this to be like bird watching. You have to find the birds, you have to go look for them. Each one needs a special habitat and special to their life. You get honestly massage in the middle of obsessive. I'm so happy to see you. That's cool. Yeah. Exclusive.
love about the mural project is how you can take the passion of an artist and all of their hard work, and once you do the installation, it becomes the work of the community. And that's my favorite part about the mural project.
Since it started living here, I heard about the Audubon Mural Project, and I said, being on the board, we should pursue this. We could not be happier about Susan's work. This is the half hour. Pieces of pine cones, tree bark, different trees. This channel is the waterway. This place, this is up the border to the chance. I wanted to have something that the public could see and touch and have out in their space to make people aware of the incredible bird stuff.
So that's another mosaic by the artist Susan Stair, who also lives and works in northern Manhattan, and she's just like, her work was just stunning. That's another one you should really go see in person if you can. Oops, sorry. Here we go. So this is something we started to do somewhat recently. We've actually started to install signs on the murals. This is a sign that we decided to kind of make it a guide to the birds in the murals so that people could sort of better orient to what the different birds are. And as you can see, we installed it in both English and Spanish, as a lot of the neighbors in that area speak both languages. So we're seizing the opportunity, the kind of educational opportunity around these murals as well. You know, and then we've experimented with other ways to engage people around the murals. The New York City Bird Alliance often offers tours of the Manhattan murals, which is a great way to see them. They're kind of our official tour partner. And we also at one point experimented with what we called billed as the fastest ever tour of the Audubon Mural Project. We did a 5K that ran past a lot of the murals. And one of the people who actually attended that run later incorporated the Audubon Mural Project into her curriculum at an elementary school. As you can see here, the kids actually produced their own mural project in the hallways of their school. And we've actually learned a number of examples of this from teachers all the way from kindergarten through college, using the Audubon Mural Project as a kind of a prism to learn about public art, to talk about climate change, to talk about science. And that's really exciting. So the murals have also started to expand outside of New York City. They have a growing wingspan. This is another thing that started to pick up momentum and that we're really enthusiastic to see. People want to bring the Audubon Mural Project to new communities. And so we're enthusiastic to support those efforts through guidance and what we've learned along the way. And so as you can see, the red tag is New York City, and we've now expanded to this slide's actually a little old, to at least 13 cities now. And this is a great example of one of those. This is actually it's multiple murals, but they're all within an installation that was painted in the Albuquerque Zoo somewhat recently. The Albuquerque Zoo, Biopark Zoo, has the highest visitation of any place in New Mexico. And this effort was led by the Bird Alliance of Central New Mexico. And we were super excited to see them bring the mural to a place that so many people, it's so accessible to so many people. And they partnered with the city's arts program to fund and commission this. And I love, if you can see it, that center panel where the artist has really worked the bird bird cavity into that space in the wall above the water fountain. It's such a great use of the space. And as people have carried the concept to their own communities, they've incorporated their own meaningful touches and ideas. This is a beautiful mural that along a meadow in Vashon Island in Washington, spearheaded by a chapter in that area. And this one incorporates, as you can see here, a land acknowledgement. And the birds in this mural actually kind of follow the habitat along this retaining wall. They kind of match the habitat along the wall. So, and then I wanted to wrap up by sharing one of the efforts that we found particularly special. This was a collaboration we worked on just this year with New York City Parks, and in particular, its Green Thumb program. We painted 21 murals in community gardens featuring climate-threatened birds and native plants. So we intentionally picked birds that use these kinds of green spaces in New York City in order to thrive, and native plants that help support them. And so, as many of you know, millions of birds right now are getting to migrate travel through New York City for spring migration. And for them, these community gardens are like little oases that offer them food and rest and shelter. And so we were thrilled to be able to bring the Audubon Mural Project off of the sidewalks and into these spaces to really call attention to the vital role that they play for both birds and people. And this is a yellow warbler painted by D. Gale in the Sugar Hill Garden in the Bronx. This particular effort spanned four different burrows. This is a white-crowned sparrow by Aaron Harley, the Pleasant Village Community Garden. As I think I mentioned, we really prioritized matching these gardens with hyper-local artists. So when we could, we chose artists actually from these neighborhoods. Aaron went to, I believe, junior high school just like half a mile from this garden. And she, like some other gardeners, really developed some wonderful relationships from this. That was really cool to see. She became a member of this garden, and we also have a video about this initiative that's on Audubon's YouTube channel if you want to check it out. And it's really, you can hear from the gardeners and the artists about what this experience for them was like. Some of the artists invited the neighbors in to help them paint the mural. That's what Yukiko Izumi did in the Stockholm Street garden in, this says Harlem, but it's actually Brooklyn. And this is a mural in the Bronx by Will Genatel. It's hermit thrushes. And these artists all brought very different styles and really worked with the gardeners to help choose what the native plants were and the birds were that would be reflected in these murals. And then some of the gardens also held events to celebrate the murals after they were completed. That's what Tenek Garden did. We were excited to incorporate native plants into the framework of the Audubon Mural Project. And so we intentionally brought Audubon's Plants for Birds program resources to gardeners. We gave them the Plants for Birds signs that are part of that program. And as you can see here, this was an event with neighbors and with the artist Vanessa Alvarez Diaz. And on the right is Marlene Panton, who's our senior manager for Audubon's Native Plants program. And this is actually my last slide. I kind of thought this was a nice place to end on. This is one of our very first murals. It is a swallow-tailed kite that actually encompasses 13 other species. It was on a building adjacent to a gas station in northern Manhattan. This was one of the few large-scale murals that actually we have lost. There was facade work that needed to be done on this building, and so at one point it kind of just disappeared in a matter of a few hours. taken down in order to do that repair work on the building, which the owners are totally, that's part of the agreement of the Audubon Mural Project. Building owners are welcome to ultimately do with their building what they wish. It was really interesting how quickly neighbors reached out, like in alarm, to tell us that this mural was disappearing. But this is also, I think, you know, public art is impermanent. This impermanence of public art, I think, is actually speaks eloquently also to the mission of the mural project, which is that, you know, birds' future is not assured either. We need to create a safe, sustainable place for them in order for them to persevere into the future. And so murals in public art actually can be a reminder of that too. And we are talking with the building about painting a new mural on this space. So if you live uptown, it may come back. Not this one, but another piece of art. So that I'll stop sharing, and I'm happy to talk a bit more about it or answer questions.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I know the audience definitely has some questions. I want to remind you guys to please put your questions in the Q&A feature, and I will share them out.
Great.
I think I currently don't have too many questions, so I'm actually going to use a question that I had. I know many of our audience members could be curious on how they could bring the Audubon Mural Project to their communities. And for those who are in New York City, what does that process look like? And is there a way for communities outside of New York to also get involved?
Yes, absolutely. If you live in New York City, that's sort of the footprint of the mural that we directly help support through Audubon. I'm in New York City. This is where I'm based, and we work with an arts partner, Getler Ann, to help facilitate and produce murals in New York City. And so I encourage you to go to the Audubon Mural Project website. And there's an email address. I think it's muralproject@audubon.org, and reach out to us there. I will say one of the more challenging parts of in producing murals can often be finding a location, finding a building that's willing to host a mural. And so if you have connections, if you see a great spot, we really look for mural sites that are very visible. We want them to be accessible to the public freely. And so murals in places that are accessible, that have good visibility or great foot traffic are great. But as I said, we also do sort of like small surprising ones, but securing making a connection with the property owner and then securing permission, which we work on, but it would be great if folks can give us give us a lead on that. So that's the New York City answer. And then to do really big installations, we also seek funding to help make those happen. Outside of New York City, we actually created a toolkit, and that is really because we started getting so many questions about how to produce murals in other communities. We took those frequently asked questions and we pulled them together into a toolkit that really explains the Audubon Mural Project, its mission, what it is to produce art that's aligned with it, and then also offers a lot of practical tips on how to do that. And so we share that with communities outside of New York who are interested in doing that. And I will say, if you're outside of New York and you're in an Audubon chapter, or you're affiliated with Audubon, we're really excited about the potential for murals to be used for community building and engagement, for them to be a catalyst for things like, you know, native plants events, letters to the editor, ways to really you know, whether it's a walking tour or other ways to engage the community. I think we've seen lots of creative ideas around that. So you can reach out, email the same email address, and we can send that out to you.
We have one question from the audience. Is there a guide pamphlet that lists the locations of the murals?
Yes. There's actually a Google map, which is pretty up to date. There might be a couple of the most recent murals. I'm not sure if the community garden murals are on there yet, but the Google map that's linked on the Audubon Mural Project page, if you keep scrolling down, has all of the murals on it. So you can really also self-tour If you look at the little bird head pins, the colors reflect whether they're a mural that's still in existence or a mural that's since come down. That can help you kind of orient. A lot of our murals originally were painted on the gates, security gates of stores. And so some of them you can only see at night when the businesses are closed. So that's a good pointer. But then also as the businesses have changed hands, sometimes those murals have been taken down. So we strive to keep the website up to date. And I actually see the question about Chicago. That Rogers Park mural is actually the very first mural that was produced outside of the New York City footprint. It was almost at the beginning of this project, and then there was sort of like a long lag between that Rogers Park mural and this more recent momentum to paint others. So it's a really cool one, for sure. We haven't added that to our website yet, but it's on my list.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go with another question that I had to close this out. I don't see any more questions from the audience at this time. What are the kind of impacts that you've seen that the Audubon Mural Project has had on communities? Jenny, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Sorry, I temporarily muted myself. One of the, I think, powerful things about the mural project is really, as I said, its ability to just catch people's attention and make them stop and kind of notice the birds around them. But it's also opened up the door to all sorts of other things. And so as I mentioned, there's educational, like there's teachers who have worked it into their classrooms. There's native plants events that have been held around the murals. The murals are beautiful and eye-catching, so we get a fair bit of press. And in that press, we make that connection to climate science and to things that people can do. I just learned today there's actually an independent documentary film that was made around that trumpeter swan that I described that was installed during the pandemic. It's been on the independent film circuit this year and has actually won a number of awards. And so the murals themselves actually can reach a much broader audience than the people who are might happen upon them on the street. So it's really that potential to open the door to having like a deeper conversation around birds and climate change in those places that we all need.
Thank you. We have one more question in the chat that just came in. Where are the California murals?
There is one California mural in Sacramento, and that was produced by Audubon California. It's I believe on the Nature Conservancy building, actually. And then there's another California mural that was produced by the San Diego City College campus chapter. That was a really cool effort. They produced a mural featuring a lot of different bird portraits in a parking garage on campus. And so that was really the campus chapter kind of mobilized around that and brought that to life. And that was really cool. And I see there was some trouble with the audio on the video. Sorry about that. I just included a link to bird watching in the Boreal. That page has the video if you would like to watch it. And if you go to the Audubon Mural Project page, you can find the addresses, you can explore the murals and find the addresses, including partner murals in other cities, which if you keep scrolling are near the bottom of the page.
Okay, and so that was our last question. I want to thank you again, Jenny, for taking your time to speak with us today. Thank you again, and thank you to our audience for logging in tonight. I hope you'll join us for another New York City Board Alliance event soon. We run bird outings all year round, 7 days a week throughout New York City. You can see our full calendar event on our website. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks.